My country people, this Mr. Korra really showed Korra shaggy promise. Guys, this is the latest update, guys. This man is indeed a weapon fashioned against Korra and her family. Guys, allegedly, that Mr. Korra will be the ones poi, put something for Korra, to just make her look mentally unwell to the world, as her sister nancyumeh shares the story, guys. You won't believe what Nancy said, guys. This is the most horror things I've ever heard about them, guys. So this guy didn't have intention of loving Korra. Instead, he was even planning, how to, buy this woman entirely, right from onset, guys. My people, no too much talk. People not hear from
about siblings, supporting siblings. So my sister was not a healthcare professional at the time, and she was at risk of she was being harassed with the CPS. Like, she was a live streamer. She had her 2 kids beside her, and I don't really care about anybody. And me, if I give injection, if I focus on one person, they will back and confess for the whole year. That's how I am. But I want to say something that is important before I lose my train of thoughts. So these people, they knew that they could get her via CPS on account of being unfit, like mentally being unfit to take care of her children, right? So because my sister had no medical background, because she had no medical background, he kept telling her in her head that when you went to the hospital, the psychologist called me, the psychiatrist called me. He said that you may have a history of bipolar. Like, you know how he had been planning this whole thing from the get-go. Like, she was so confused. So she would call me at the time and say, what is this, they're saying that I did when I was not feeling well. Because when she wasn't feeling well, she didn't even know where she was. She had been poisoned by her ex, and she was admitted, and she didn't even know where she was. So she was so confused, like, am I crazy? Am I really crazy? Thank you, Patricia Timpico. And she was just like, oh, am I really crazy? Like, Nancy, what happened to me? I was like, you had THC poisoning. So I kept insisting on getting the actual report from the hospital. The hospital report, he just kept hiding it from me. I was like, where is the hospital report? Let me see if this thing you are saying actually makes sense. Because how can you say your friend who is this, as in your friend, is she a psychiatrist? No, she's a therapist. She told me that she might have a little hint of, she might have a little hint of bipolar. I was like, your friend who is a therapist and did a few courses, is the person a psychiatrist? No. Okay, the person is not a psychiatrist, but he just kept hiding that hospital report. So I told my sister to make sure she gets it, like, go and get that hospital report for me. And then I read it. I was like, is this it? Is there anything else? She was like, no, this is it. THC poisoning. And I read all the notes. And I was like, what? Wow. Is this the report that they were trying to use to say that you have a history of what? Like, THC poisoning is marijuana. He spiked up her drink, and she called me that night for like 7 hours. Oh, thank you, Ernestia. I've blocked her. She called me that night for like 7 hours. She was just talking. I knew something was wrong, so I stayed on the phone and made sure he took her to the hospital. And because of that report, they wanted to twist everything around. They were hiding it from her. Eventually, I saw it and I told her, listen to me. You have no history of any mental illness. You were poisoned. Don't let anybody mess with your brain, because that's how they start messing with your brain. And I'm a healthcare professional. I told her, you're fine. You are fine. Nothing happened to you. You were poisoned by your ex. Nothing happened to you. And she was like, oh my God. They told me I had bipolar. He told me that his friend told him that I have it. I'm like, you didn't even know what you were saying. That's why I refused to get off the phone that day when that poisoning happened. He was like, get your sister. I was like, no worries, just help me take her to the hospital. I was on the phone when they got admitted, when I was on the phone for 7 hours that day. And I had no idea that almost less than 1 year down the line, he would try to use that singular incident against her. You see why your siblings need to be like in the know of what's going on with you? You see why? Because they could have easily manipulated that. You know, when he was busy feeding bloggers, you know, like, she's crazy. She's crazy. I remember there was one time, every time I would come on Facebook, is it true that your sister is mad? Is it true that your sister is mad? That's why she dances like this. That's why she's always naked. I was like, where is all this coming from? I didn't know that this guy had planned everything from the get-go. Like months before he came online to announce the divorce. He had planned how he would try and get her in the hospital, film her in a hospital bed, you know, get her to somehow be admitted into a psychiatric facility, and they'll say, so maybe postpartum. She was just a few weeks after giving birth to June, or a few months. But like, he has spiked up her drink, and those people, it's not really easy to manipulate the US, okay? They wrote it there. I think I still have the report somewhere on one of those WhatsApps. THC poisoning, which is marijuana poisoning. She took the marijuana. I don't know whether it was in her drink or she smoked it, but like, she was talking. Korra was talking for hours. And I was like, oh my God, who did this to you? He just wanted to get that on her records, to say that she was an unfit mother. And around that time was when June walked into the streets. Around that time was when a lot of things happened that they were trying to use against her much later in the year. So I knew that, oh my God, you guys, things are happening. Okay? So I was so happy I calmed her down, because she was actually believing this thing. Like, you know, every day you wake up and someone is telling you that you are crazy because his friend who is a psychology professor, blah, 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 therapist. I was like, who is that? Is that a psychiatrist? No. Only a psychiatrist can actually diagnose bipolar disorder. Only a psychiatrist can diagnose bipolar disorder. There is nothing they did not say to actually tarnish my sister. And they said, Nancy said it. Nancy said it. I was like, Me, I said my sister has bipolar disorder. Like, hey, I watched that video where I said, there's a history of anxiety disorder. I have a mom who has a sister that has severe anxiety disorder. That is something that happens to a lot of people. Every single family has at least one person who goes through some sort of neurologic or psychological, issue. Yeah? She did go through a lot. She was poisoned. And at the time she was poisoned, her child ran into the street. She didn't know where she was. My sister was speaking in tongues. She was talking. And I was just on the phone. I was on the phone. That was the day my phone died. I charged my phone again like 3 times. 7 hours I was on the phone. Just ensuring that, take her to the hospital, take her somewhere. So when they sedated her, she was able to sleep. She didn't eat for over 24 hours. No longer, as in, he was claiming, she probably had it at a party. She's always partying, always naked, those kind of, oh my God, you guys, you don't know what this girl has been through. And this is just me telling you that if you are a sibling, don't take any small report you get for granted. Okay? Don't take it for granted. Make sure you fight. Make sure you actually fight for your sibling, because that could mean the difference between life and death. She was actually... Anxiety disorder doesn't mean you are crazy, but it can actually get serious. He also has anxiety disorder. This one is diagnosed by a psychiatrist. He has anxiety disorder, and he knows that almost every family, one or two people will have it. Okay? But they know how to twist your words. They just wanted to pin a diagnosis on her, and then they started using CPS to fight her. After they started using CPS to fight her, it backfired, because eventually their master started doing crazy things as well. So the CPS said, wait a minute, this one is not a fit parent. Both of them, according to you guys, because if you are reporting someone for a child crawling towards a socket, what happens when the child is picking up a syringe from the parent's house? So it backfired really quickly. Like, they were trying to use, you know, they would have live videos, they would organize mass reporting where they would just pick up the phone and be calling CPS. This woman is so crazy. This woman is letting her child go through the knife. Her child was almost touching the knife. Here's a screenshot. Here's a screenshot. So they reported her to the point that CPS was like, wait a minute. And then they started compiling evidence against her so that the other parents could take full custody of these children. Then the other so-called fit parents that came online to come and smash a newborn's head on the floor because he was trying to stop the other one from picking syringe. And then people started reporting that he's not a fit dad. And the CPS was like, oh God, what is going on? But their initial plans, most Americans have anxiety, I know, right? And they believe anxiety is not a psychological issue. They think it's just normal. No, it's a history of psychiatric disorder. That's the disorder. Okay? So you guys, I'm just trying to tell you that sometimes when evil comes to you, it is pre-planned. Your enemy would have planned it since, and sometimes you need siblings that actually understand it to take you out of that mess. Because I swear to God, my sister was thinking something was wrong with her. Like, she was like, hey God, I didn't know where I was for almost 12 hours. I was like, it doesn't matter, you were poisoned. You had THC poison. She was like, I just drank. He just gave me something to drink and something to, like, what? I just drank it. Okay. Exactly. It was his friend who diagnosed her. So she was really thinking, oh my God, because I didn't know where I was for 12 hours. That means I'm crazy. I'm like, no. No. Right now, you might be sleeping with the enemy, and the person that can actually save you, your sibling right now can be sleeping with their enemies. And you, instead of you to position yourself as that sibling that is sensitive enough to save them, you'll be thinking, oh, people will say I put my mouth in their marriage. People will say, look, the most important thing is that your sibling is alive. Okay? Your sibling is sane because they want to break you from the inside. They want to break you from the inside out. They will twist everything you say, use it against you, make you feel like you are trash, you are useless, and then you'll be thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm truly crazy. Maybe I'm truly crazy. Only a psychiatrist can diagnose the bipolar disorder, but this guy got a random therapist with, you know how they are now with their 1 billion certificates, and they'll be calling themselves doctors, a therapist, to say that she had bipolar. To say that some of the symptoms that he describes the bipolar person. And when I was like, who diagnosed you? How dare they? Hey, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Like, how can a therapist be diagnosing you and your report from the hospital says THC poisoning? How? Like, they had to detox you in that hospital because he didn't do so much. You didn't even know where you were for 12 hours. And then he was busy taking evidence of June running into the streets when he had already poisoned you. Like, you can see that the plan was straightforward from the beginning. So you guys, things are happening. If you have a sibling, you're suspecting something is happening, just keep your eye out. Let them curse you, fine. Let them abuse you, let everything happen. No problem.
My country people, now I'm beginning to fear for the safety of these beautiful children. Nancy and Korra, my people, let's not underestimate what this JD is capable of, because I can't get it how those pressures are still on, allowed to be under his care in his home. Just they don't have daddy issue according to Korra Obidi. The writing is all over the walls that JD is not okay, mentally, unstable and capable of, harming these people. They should take action now before it's too late, my country people.